So today we are going to install the database. So what kind of database it is? It will be a Rac database. Okay. So where is WinSCP? Oh, thank you. Close. 192.168.192.168.20.2. Okay. Before logging into this, we will log on to database nodes, root, Oracle. So as of now, what we have done, we have installed the cluster and we have seen how cluster starts and stop, right? Now we need to install database because cluster do not have anything. Cluster lo man menti only to make cluster environment. One node gets failed, then other node can take care. That configuration we have done. But actually we will work on database only, right? So that database we need to install first. 52. So like we have user grid for the cluster where similarly we need to create one more user for the database. And if you want, you can also install database with the grid user. But it is always recommended to have the role separation because database works different way, grid works different way, right? If you have only one user, then you need to create two environment files. When you want to connect grid, you need to run that, and when you want to connect database, you need to run that. So for that reason, we will create one more user. So I think when we install the pre-packages, Oracle user will already get created, right? So what we need to create? We need to create the directory structure. Okay. So before that, I will set the password for that user. So password will be Oracle. Similarly, I will create on node 1 also. Right. So now we need to create directory structure. So mkdir -p slash d01 I will be giving. So this can be anything, whatever you want, u01, Oracle, whatever you want, that's different way. App Oracle, this will be the base, and then product 19.0.0, this will be the home. Then ch own -r Oracle and o install slash d01. Any issue? Tell me. Oracle దగ్గర? Oh, okay. So we are not creating any central inventory because central inventory is already there. When we install the cluster, central inventory is there. So how you can identify central inventory? What is the central inventory? Okay, that I will come to you later. So now paths and everything is done. So we can simply copy the Oracle home. Means the software, right? So Oracle. Where I will copy onto slash d01 and then app Oracle product 19c. So this is my DB home. So I will copy on only one node and other node like cluster, it will be installed. So in 19c, how we will install? First we need to install the software, then we need to create the database, right? You cannot create and configure database like 12c. అవునా? లేకపోతే వింటున్నా ఫస్ట్ టైం? నేనేం చెప్పాను అర్థమైందా? చెప్పు ఒకసారి. 12Cలో పనిచేశారా? చేయలేదా? మీ కోర్ డేటాబేస్ ఎంతలో చెప్తున్నారు? 12C 19C? 19C. So in 12C you can have one more option, create and configure. So the single option, home will be installed and database will also get created. In 19C we do not have that option. So you need to install the home, then you need to run the DBCA to create the database. So the packages and everything we already have, because whatever required for cluster, the same packages and everything required for the database also. So that reason we are done with the packages. So we need to start the installer only. So I logged into Oracle, moved on to the home, 301 app, product 19, unzip the software. Okay. So now I require the graphical interface, right? So we can work with MOBA external. 51. Now we will log in with Oracle user. Okay. So we will move to that location, cd/301 app product 19. Okay. Okay. Unzip is done now. So we run as run installer. So it will be much like the old single instance only, but there are few changes will be there. So here it is giving create and configure a single instance database. Okay. This option creates a starter database. So this is not what we want. We want a clustered, right? So cluster option is not there. So we will go with setup software only. Now select database installation type, single instance or real application cluster. So we are going with Rac. So now you can see node 1 and node 2 already got selected because the cluster is set up between those two instances. So now, so what I am doing now, am I creating database or am I creating instance? Huh? With this step, what I am going to do? So we are going to create the instance, not the database. So you have an option like you have 4 or 5 node rack, you can say. Say you have 5 node rack. So you can see all the 5 nodes here, but I want my instance to be running on only 4 nodes. Other 2 nodes I don't want to install anything. So you can deselect that node. Even if here I can deselect this, then my instance will be created or software will be installed only on rack node 1. So now you can choose. So here we want on both nodes, right? Now again SSH connectivity, like grid to grid user passwordless connection was required. Huh? Okay. So ఇప్పుడు నాకు 4 nodes ఉన్నాయనుకో, example. 4 నోడ్స్ ఉండేటప్పుడు నేను ఇక్కడ ఏం చేస్తున్నాను, ఒరాకిల్ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఒరాకిల్ హోమ్ అనేది ఇన్స్టాల్ చేస్తున్నాను. సో ఒరాకిల్ హోమ్ ఇన్స్టాల్ అవ్వడం వల్ల ఏమవుతుంది, నాకు అక్కడ ఇన్స్టెన్స్ అనేది క్రియేట్ అవుతుంది, రైట్? అంతే కదా. సో ఇప్పుడు నేను 4 నోడ్స్లో నా ఇన్స్టాలేషన్ అవసరం లేదు, నాకు ఓన్లీ 3 నోడ్స్లోనే నా డేటాబేస్ రన్ అవ్వాలని అనుకుంటున్నాను. అలాంటప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తాను, ఐ కెన్ డిస్సెలెక్ట్ 1 నోడ్. అప్పుడు అక్కడ మీకు ఒరాకిల్ హోమ్ కానీ ఏమి క్రియేట్ అవ్వదు అనమాట. కరెక్ట్, అంతే. నీకు ఏ నోడ్స్లో నీకు డేటాబేస్ రన్ అవ్వాలనుకుంటావు అక్కడక్కడ నీకు ఇన్స్టెన్స్ కూడా కావాలి కదా. సో ఇదే అక్కడక్కడ ఇన్స్టెన్స్ అనేది క్రియేట్ చేస్తుంది అనమాట. సో లైక్ వీ హ్యావ్ connectionless password for the grid user. So here we are having Oracle user. So similarly connectionless password is required for Oracle user. Okay, Oracle, if you can test, it will not have any connectivity. Now I can set it up. Understood? So password setup done. Now next. So it is verifying the installer validation on both nodes. It will check whether permissions, and then we have the directories created or not, and packages and everything it will check. So now we want which kind of environment, whether enterprise or standard edition second. So in the real time, we will always have enterprise edition. The difference between enterprise and standard, there are some features which are less in standard, but in the enterprise edition you can do everything like security patches and more secure. So you can read it here. Okay, what are the differences are there for these two? So we will always go with enterprise edition. Now Oracle base, and this is my home. So everything is set up fine. So we can go next. So here it is checking the specific location on remote node also. So we have only one group for all the things. So you can have one install for everything. Next, automatically run the script. No, I will manually run. Now it is checking for packages, parameters and everything. Ask me in English. You are not going to talk in Hindi or Telugu. Okay? Try. Now tell me. Try. What is the problem? B.Tech na? B.Tech na? Degree Telugu lo chadiva? Then what is the problem? Try to speak. Ah. So when we install Oracle Home or Oracle database, there are two scripts are there, right? One root.inst and root.sh. So when you click automatically run, then it has to be run with root user. So you need to provide root password. Then it will not prompt you to run it. It will automatically run. Understood? So if you have doubts, then you can run when you install in your home in database. You can choose that option and see whether the prompts are coming or it will complete the installation itself. Now click on install. So what it will do, it will install the Oracle binaries on both nodes. Once this installation is done, then we can use DBCA to create the database. Okay. So let it finish first. Then I have 15 minutes of work. We will pause this class and then we will connect again. Right? So you people have to tell me what are the steps we need to choose during the database creation, because you've already done several times. So I will ask you questions over there. Why? So you should have the answer. Okay? సో నువ్వు అడిగే క్వశ్చన్కి ఆన్సర్ ఏంటి? ఇప్పుడు నువ్వు అక్కడ ఆటోమేటికల్లీ రన్ చేసావు అనుకో, ఆ రెండు స్క్రిప్ట్స్ వస్తాయి కదా, అవి మరి నువ్వు రన్ చేయ అవసరం లేదు, అదే రన్ చేసుకుంటుంది. but at the same time you need to provide root password in that root. ఎందుకంటే రూట్తో రన్ అవ్వాలి కదా, రూట్ యాక్సెస్ మనం ఇప్పుడు ఇన్స్టాలర్ ఒరాకిల్తో రన్ చేసాం కదా, సో రూట్ పాస్వర్డ్ పెడితే అది ఆటోమేటిక్గా రన్ అవుతుంది. అది నేను చెప్తున్నాను, అవుతుంది లేదో నాకు తెలియదు. తెలియాలంటే నువ్వు ట్రై చేసుకోవాలి. మీ చేతిలో ఉండేవన్నీ మీరు చేసుకోవచ్చు. ఓకేనా? అప్పుడే నీకు కూడా అర్థమవుతుంది నేను చెప్పింది కరెక్టా తప్ప రైటా. So once this script comes, running on both nodes as root, okay? And after that click OK, and once the installer is done, then you can pause this video, okay? Do not stop, just pause it. When we will again connect back, then we can continue from here. Somebody start from here, okay? ఎవరో ఒకరు అది వచ్చాక రన్ చేయండి. ఇదే కదా రికార్డ్ రా, రన్నింగ్ లో ఉంది. ఇదే కదా స్క్రిప్ట్. రైట్ క్లిక్ ఎత్తే సరిపోతుంది కదా. ఎంటర్ ద ఫుల్ పాత్. టూలో కూడా చేయాలి కదా, టూలో కూడా చేయాలి కదా. అదే ఫినిష్ అయిపోయింది.
ఇది క్లోజ్ చేయనా?
Sorry, sir. Ah, so now we have installed our software. Okay. Why? So now we need to create the database, right? So to run the DBCA, DBCA. So what we need to do? Vi dot dash underscore profile. So shift G, O, export Oracle underscore home D01 app Oracle product 0.0, and then export path equal to recording already started, I guess. It is running. Slash bin colon patch dollar path. So as of now we do not have any instance name or database name, so SID we can set later, or if you have planned anything you can set it also. Okay, so now dot dash underscore profile. Okay, dbca. So now we need to create database. Next. Why it is taking so long? Okay, so we generally go with advanced configuration, right? Next. Now this option you would not have in the single instance. So you need to select type of database, which type it is. So let us see what are the options we have. We have single instance, which is not using VR. Next is Oracle Real Application Cluster Database, and last one is Oracle Rac One Node Database. So what is the difference between two? Can you explain me? So what is Rac One Node then? Rac and One Node. Huh? Yes. So when we install cluster, I have already explained you, there is one Oracle restart environment where we have only one single node, but to get the ASM facility, we will install rack software over there, right or not? You remember? So when you have that kind of environment, you can have only single instance database, but that will not be this single instance. rather than it will be rack one node database. Understood? So now we have full-fledged rack, so we can use this. Now there is one more configuration type. So there are two things are there. One is admin managed, other is policy managed. So how I can explain you, there are some policies and pools will be there in the cluster. Okay. Say I have 10 node rack. What is that? And I have different databases. Like I have customer based database like Amazon or Flipkart, and I have say other databases like company database where I am keeping my only stocks. Okay, and I have another database, HR database, where only HR related task will be done. So now, what is my most important database? Customer facing like Amazon, because that is where I am getting my revenue. So I should give highest priority to that database. Now how I am designing, I am designing like 4 nodes for or 6 nodes for customer base. Okay, 4 nodes for or 3 nodes for inventory and 1 node for HR. Okay, and I kept like sales, customer, inventory, and HR. Okay. Now say one my node went down. Which node? Where my Amazon is running. Okay. So what I designed, I should have 6 nodes for the Amazon, right? So now one Amazon node went down. So based on the pool capacity and my Amazon is the priority one, then what it will do? It will check which is the least priority server. Okay. So list is HR. So say HR has 2 nodes, for example. I am saying HR has 2 nodes and inventory has 2 nodes, example. So HR is third. So what it will do? One of the HR node will go down and that will be added into Amazon node. So Amazon is fulfilling its 6 nodes at all the time. In this way, we can manage these pool services. So when we have that kind of environment, we can use policy based. So those pools will be created at the cluster level. Okay. With 2 nodes, you cannot manage them. Right. To create pool, you have a large number of nodes. So that's why we use admin managed. Admin managed means this cluster where will manage where my instance should start and should stop. Clear or not? Right? So we don't need to dig into that deep, but I have given you idea about what is the difference between pool and admin managed. Ardhamainda? So now I am going for next. Okay, before that, I could see that there are different kind of templates are there, right? What one is data warehouse, one is custom database, one is general purpose transaction. What is the difference between them? Have you ever gone through this? You have seen this in the normal installation also, right or not? I think you have go with the default one. Why? Default is right, but why I should choose this one only, not this one or not this one? Huh? What does it mean by transaction processing? And what does it mean by data warehouse? Atiga, loud, loud. You have done database installation, you have done export, import, and you don't know this. Huh? How? Then why they have made three? Right? Huh? Generally, data warehouse means go down like stock. That means we mostly keep data. We don't read or we don't select frequently. We this is used for storage only, right? Most of the times. That means you need to understand. Storage means I always put data. Means inserts operation will be more. One is general purpose and transactional process. Transaction might be insert, might be delete, might be update, any kind of transaction. Understood? One is custom, means whatever you want. Then what is the, so now you understood the properties of the work based on that. So then what makes the difference between them? Understood or not? So then how they are going to be different from the database one version to another version? One I am saying only I will do insert. One I am saying I will do everything. Then in the normal database also you can do insert. In the normal database also you can do update and everything. Then why this data warehouse separately came in? There should be some logic. What is that logic? So how it will be differ? That's what I say. What makes them different? Right? There should be some properties in between by which it can behave differently. Then only I have different types, right? If I have you and I will clone someone like you, then what is the difference? You should have some extra powers to do some extra work. Then only I can differ both of you, right? So similarly, if I am giving two different variations, then what is the point making them variant? Tell me. So you know the block size. What are the block size? Tell me. Huh? 8 KB. 4 KB is not using right now. So 8 KB and then 16 KB and 8, 16, 32. Oh, you don't know that one also. 64 is not there. 8 KB is there. 16 KB is there. 32 KB is there. So what is meant by that? Why three different types of are there? Ah, you are going in some good direction. Ah. There is some small transaction and hmm. Then what does mean by block size? What is block size? How you define a block size? If somebody asks you, what do you mean by block size? So you can say there are three different block sizes are available: 8 KB, 16 KB, and 32 KB. What does it really mean by? ఆన్సర్ చెప్పు చదవలేదు కదా block size means that is the minimum amount of disk can be written or can be read for every single transaction, right? Say if you have this much of rice, can you do everything at once? What will take? You will take one small portion. That is what, how much you can fit into your mouth or how much you can grab in your hand, right? So that portion only you will pick up, then you will pick up gradually the same amount. That is what block size. So when you start reading or when you start writing, so minimum amount of disk space can be allocated. If you are writing 200 MB of data, so all the 200 MB will not come at once. Depending on the block size, if it is 8 KB, 8 KB allocated. Complete, then 8 KB allocated. Complete, then 8 KB. When you are reading all the 200 blocks, you cannot read at once. 8 KB, then 8 KB, then 8 KB. In that way, either you can read or you can write. Right? Understood? So now, then why three different block sizes? Not tell me. I have given enough explanation. Now you understood. Then why you eat bigger amount? Why you eat small amount? Think in that way only. You have rice. Someday you eat పెద్ద. Someday you eat small. Tell me. Hmm. So say if my transaction size is 2 KB, what is that? So what I said, whatever block size is there, the same amount of data will be allocated for read or write. So if I have 32 KB block size and my transaction is of only 2 KB. So to write 2 KB, my Oracle will allocate 32 KB block, right? So allocating blocks, that means it is allocating from the data files. చేస్తున్నాను కదా తీసుకోరా ఇవాళ మీకుంటే చల్లండి ఎంజాయ్ ప్రొజెక్టర్ అందుకే వేగం రావాలి క్లాస్కి రోజు నేను వెయిట్ చేయడం ఈరోజు నాకు ఛాన్స్ దొరికింది సో to write 2 KB I am allocating 32 KB. So to allocate block, CPU will be allocating the sizes, right? So CPU is busy in allocating 32 KB where it only write 2 KB. Now again I did another transaction, then also it will allocate in 32 KB. So in this way CPU is always getting busy in allocating blocks only. Then my database will not perform good, right? Here I am seeing the performance degradation. Other way, my transaction is like 20 KB or 25 KB and I have 8 KB block size, right? To write one transaction, CPU has to allocate 3 blocks. Allocate, allocate, allocate. Again, CPU is busy in allocating blocks only. That is also not good, right? CPU should be free for other jobs. Only it is allocating. ఇప్పుడు నీకు నేను వచ్చాను మీకు ఎప్పుడు పనిచుకొని ఉంటే నేను క్లాస్ ఎప్పుడు చెప్తాను, right? So you need to design your database according to your requirement. So general purpose transactions, where like Amazon, Flipkart, you do a buy a whatever phone. I won't change. Go. ఒక అరగంట ఆగు అయిపోద్ది ఇంటికి వెళ్ళి ఏం చేస్తావు ఆగు వాళ్ళు ఉంటారులే. So now what I am saying, data. So when I am Amazon or what I can say Flipkart, so there the transaction numbers are high but transaction size is very limited, right? In that case the lower block size will improve the performance. So where I can have 8 KB block size. Say in movie databases, one movie is of 4 GB, 5 GB. Here the transaction size is big but flow is less, users are less, or users may be high but the transaction size is even higher. So there if I have 8 KB then my database will not perform good. So there I need to have bigger block size. Understood? So this is how you need to identify. Okay, so that's why in general we use general purpose or transaction. If you are working for any telecom company where your all calls will be recorded but who reads those calls? Never. So those will be having 16 KB 32 KB block size. So those will be data warehouse databases. So does it initially give 32 KB? No. Even if you select data warehouse, the initial block size is 8 KB but you can create different table spaces with 32 KB or 16 KB. Understood? Got it? So you need to enable that block size parameter in the parameter file. Then when you create table space, there you need to put block size 32 KB. Then it will become 32 KB block size data file. Okay? When you have 32 KB block size, your data file size will also grow high. Okay? That is what called big data file. I think it is some 128 TB or one data file will be there. And only one data file for one table space. Okay? Clear, or you have any doubts? You don't know right as of now. You have done 100 times of installation. Okay, so now I am selecting general purpose. Now again, so earlier we have installed the software only, right? For that software, where I need to create this database instance. Understood? Where I want, not database. You always need to be careful. Earlier I created home to support the instance. Now I am creating instance on both nodes. Okay, I can choose 2 nodes for the database installation, but I can choose one node for the instance. That is always possible. అర్థమైందా? సో సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేసేటప్పుడు నేను 3 నోడ్స్ 4 నోడ్స్ సెలెక్ట్ చేయొచ్చు, బట్ డేటాబేస్ క్రియేట్ చేసినప్పుడు నేను 1 నోడ్ 2 అనే సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు, బికాజ్ నౌ ఇన్స్టాన్స్ ఈజ్ గోయింగ్ టు బి క్రియేటెడ్. అండర్స్టూడ్? నెక్స్ట్, now it is checking for the passwordless connection. We have already done that, so now it will not ask. Now there is one global name and one there is SID prefix. Prefix means it will be initial letter. SID prefix, why it is saying it is not saying SID? That means SID might be different. That's what does it mean, right? ఇప్పుడు నేనేం చెప్పాను, నీ ముందు పేరు అని చెప్పాను అంటే నీ పేరు అది కాదు, అది ఓన్లీ ఫస్ట్ లెటర్, ఇంకా వేరే పేరు నీకు ఉండొచ్చు అనమాట, అంతే కదా దాని అర్థం. సో నౌ SID prefix means I have two instances, so two SIDs will be created, instance 1 and instance 2. So that instance name will started with ORCL, so first instance will become ORCL1 and second instance will become ORCL2. If you have n number, then 3 4 5 6 like that. Clear or not? So now if I want to change global name, see what is the difference. So when I am changing global name, my SID is also getting changed. So what I will give here, I will give like prod. What is that? But if I change instance name, my global name will not change. So I can give UAT, right? So you are getting global name is different, instance name is different. So for our better understanding, we will keep the same in almost all the times. So now when you installed earlier, you have used create as container database, right? You used to tick that remove. This tick has been removed. Now we are going to create container database. Along with that, you can see use local undo table space. So for that, you need to understand what is container, what is non-container, right? So say in one machine you can install, what happened? They will wait. In one instance we have how many? Do one thing. Let's just stop class. We will move to that. They will can continue. Okay. So to understand container, first we need to check. So what is container? What is non-container? So as of now, you people have worked on non-container database. So let me explain. You have one server and you are running two instances or two databases. So how many instances will run over there? Two databases are there. Two instances. That means two SGS, two PGS, two background process for each one. Means two sets of instances will be running. Now, when a process starts, it will hold some memory and some CPU, whether it is working or not. If you are in the class, you are listening or not listening, you have occupied one seat, right? So similarly, if two instances are running, some minimum memory or CPU will be acquired. Now, say you have around 10 GB of RAM. Okay, what you have decided? 4 GB SGA, 4 GB SGA, remaining 2 GB or whatever SGA and PGA, and 2 GB remaining for OS. Right? This is not the proper way, but I am making you understand it. So now, database 1 usually accessible in the daytime. In the evening time, database 2 will be accessible. Database 1, there will be no people in the evening. Similarly, in the morning, database 2 do not have much users. 1 or 2 are here and there. So, when you see in the morning time, whoever users are working on database 1, they are not getting the resources because they are less in space. So now in the morning, if I want to run database 1 without any lag, I require 6 GB of SGA or memory. Okay, but at the same point of time, instance to our database 2 does require only 2 GB. It is not require 4 GB, right? So now what happens in the morning time? Your no instant database 1 is not running properly. In the evening, your database 2 is not running properly, because evening time database 2 requires 6 GB. Database 1 may handle with 1 GB also. So that means what? Do you not have memory? You have enough memory, but your resource utilization is not proper, right? Your resource utilization is not proper. So what you have to do in the morning time, you need to reduce 2 GB SGA from the instance 2 and then add it onto the database 1. And in the evening, you need to do the same version to proper utilization of resources, right? So that's what we have advantage of container database. So now when container came in picture means this is the container database which do not have any user data. What is that? So you cannot create a table space for users in the container, or you cannot create one user, or you cannot insert anything. So generally when user you want to create, you create user. So you cannot create local users in container database. Then why it is being used? This will be used as central instance. What is that? So when you start database with container, only container instance will be started. What is that? Then where is my user data? For that you have pluggable database which is called PDB. What is that? So there will be different databases named as PDB. They will act as a pluggable database. So those pluggable database will attach it to container and they will share the container instance. Understood? Now I have allocated 8 GB of memory to container. So now database 1 became PDB, database 2 became another PDB. They have attached to container. Now they can share the entire instance. Understood? So in the container environment, you do not have instance for pluggable database. You have only one instance running using container, and these databases, user databases or our actual databases will act as a pluggable database. Now you got the concept? Understood? Now, so what is the difference? How they manage? System and sys. These are the two schemas, which are the administrator schemas. So they will be maintained at the container. If you change the password for system, then all the PDBs, all the users have the same password. In the user PDBs, you do not have the system user or the sys schema. These will be handled in the only CDB. Okay, understood? Sys and system will be managed in the CDB and remaining local users will be managed in PDB. Got it? So now I want to create one PDB, two PDB. So there is one licensing scheme is there. So if you have CDB license only, then you can use up to 3 PDBs connecting to that CDB. How many? If you want to use more PDBs, then you need to buy the PDB license also. So in one container, you can plug up to 254 PDBs. Clear? Okay. So now here create as container database. That means this prod, whatever name I am giving, this will be a container database. Okay. So here it is using use local undo table space for PDBs. Like I said, systems related is what undo is also system related, temp is also system related, and sys and system. So sys and system will be managed in CDB itself, and this local undo table space you can manage for local also, because each different database can use different undos, right? For that it is giving one option. You can use local undo, or if you don't want to use local undo, then you can share the system undo. Means CDB undo. Understood? So generally it will be default. and if you don't want, then you cannot, but it is recommended to use local undo only. Now, if you don't want to create any PDB as of now, you want to create only CDB, then you can create this. Create an empty container. That means only container database will be created, no PDBs will be created. You can create PDBs later also by using DBCA. You can see once the CDB is installed, when you run DBCA again, then it will give you add PDB, delete PDB. This kind of amendments also came over there. Understood? So now I want to create one PDB. So you can want one or two, then it will also become PDB1, PDB2 like that. Okay. So if you want, you can give two PDBs. Let us see. Okay. So now what I will do, PDB name, let us prod underscore PDB. Prod is the name of container, and prod underscore PDB is the name of PDB. Okay. So now two PDBs are going to create, two local databases. Next. So now if you want to use, what is this? Template we don't want. Now the database storage, where you want to store your data files. So now it is showing ASM storage, or you can have file system means U01 that. So we have ASM disk groups, so we can always use ASM. Now data file location. By default it took plus OCR and DB unique name. So whatever DB unique name will be there, a directory will be created in the OCR disk group. So I don't want to use OCR because this is my cluster information. So I will use different disk groups. For that, you need to create disk groups initially. Like we have created disk groups, right? After the cluster installation. So now I want my data for to store database. Okay? Right? Done. Now you can see use Oracle managed file system. What is this? What does it mean? సర్వీస్ సార్ ఫుల్గా నేనే చదివాను అదే అర్థం చెప్పండి. Means what files? Data files. So the naming convention, like we give system 01.dbf, those things are not required now. Oracle will manage the file system and file names itself. So when you add database data file table space, how you used to add it? Alter table space name, add data file and path. When you use Oracle manage file system, database knows where to add a file, what file name. You simply can write alter database, alter table space, add data file, size. No path is required now. Oracle understood where to create the files. This is okay. Now there is one more multiplex, redo logs and control files. What does it mean? So we have control file at 2 places, 3 places, right? That is what called multiplexing. So in the clustered environment, we have ASM disk groups. So we can use two different disk groups to keep the data files, not data files, redo log files and control files. So if I want to multiplex, I can give the names like plus data is one disk group and other disk group is plus RICO. You can see that during the disk group creation we have RICO and ASM. So these disk groups you need to create initially before going to database installation. During the database installation you cannot create this group, but during the cluster installation we need to create this group. Understood or not? So here I have done this. So whenever you use ASM, you need to give plus always. If you do not give plus, then it is in mess. Okay. So now what is that? File location variables. See how many options are there. Have you explored these things during the installation? Then what you have understood then Oracle? That's why you people are not able to answer any question. file location variable. So it is showing what is my Oracle home, what is DB unique name, and what is the base, and what is DB name. Here we can see DB unique name and DB name are same, and SID is also same. Okay, but you can always have different names. Now next. So do you know about flash recovery area? What is this? English, Telugu I don't know. That's wrong answer. Have you worked on flashback or not? Did you enable flashback? No. You have done standby, right? All of you people. Snapshot is standby. Then you should have this flashback. So what is flashback? Why it is being used? What information it will have? Restore point. What is restore point? What is restore point? Restore point does not have any. Yeah, tell me. So like we have backups. Backup we have. Why we require backup? If any corruption or anything happens, wrong goes on, then we can restore our backup. So to restore database, it will take longer. So alternatively, we have flashbacks, right? Means time base you can recover entire database will be flashback to that time. Like see, in the books, you read some pages, you put some pointers, right? So this is one point, this is one point, this is one point. So if I want, I can always move back to that point without checking anything or without need to knowing the entire thing, right? Similarly, when you enable flashback, whatever transactions you are doing, right, it is recording on the redo logs, the same thing will be logged into flashback logs. Okay? So say if I have dropped one table at 5 o'clock accidentally, I don't have backup of that table in export import or anywhere. Then how you can retrieve that table? Do you have any options? If I have yesterday's backup, then I need to restore yesterday's backup, and then I need to apply all the archive logs which are generated from that point to this point, right? This will be used time taking. Now, if I have enabled flashback, then there is one flashback log generated at 4:59. In that log, this table is existing. If I move my database to that 4:59, then my table is existing, and that will be done much quicker, right? So that's the reason we can have these flashback logs, but it will impose performance issues. They might require more change. ఏమైంది అక్కడ ఉన్నాయా మరి వినయ్యా అదొక్కటే మిగిలింది అయితే నువ్వు అక్కడే కావాలా So when we enable flashback, that means it will write some new logs. So the database performance always degrade. Generally, flashback is not enabled in the production because of the performance degradation. But if I know my people are very intelligent, they will do mistake anytime, then I have to open this option. Okay? So I have given you enough knowledge. So you have done all things, but you don't know why it is doing. What are the background knowledge is not there. If you don't have knowledge, then you never succeed. I know it is pointless because you cannot change anything, but you should know why it is. Minimum whatever you are doing, for that sake you should know. Because we have so many things. We are not learning all the things. So whatever we are learning, whatever steps we are doing, that entire knowledge you should understand. Okay? At least to some extent, not entire, at least to some extent. You can understand why this is being happening and why this feature is given. Okay. So right now I don't want to enable anything. Simply next. Now this is Oracle database vault. So there is one vaulting system is there to secure our database. Okay. What is that security? Okay. So now you can see whoever is logging with 6 DBA, they can access everything, right, in the database. And by default, DBA should have the 6 DBA access, right? If I am working in a company which is very sensitive, like military database is there, so every data will be there. I am a DBA, right? I only understood the database, but I am nowhere related to military. I might be traitor. If I have the data access, then I can release it to someone, right? Then how you will stop me from accessing that critical or confidential data? I should work at the same time. I should not access the critical data, right? For that, this database vaulting will be enabled. Even if you use DBA, you cannot access certain data. That is what called data vaulting. Okay. I also do not have much experience over there, but someday I will configure. If that day if you are there, then you can understand. Else you will learn it in the your companies wherever you are doing. So these will come when you have around 6, 7 years, 8 years experience, then they will be there. If you are company managing that, then it is good. You have the documents and everything they will be there. Okay. So for that, it is also same Oracle label security, which is the part of this database vault. So we are not going to use that right now. So now there is memory sizing. So now tell me what is the difference between automatic shared memory management and manual shared memory management and automatic memory management. Three ways are there, right? In the architecture, I think you must have covered this. See, whatever questions I am asking, nobody is able to answer, right? But you have gone through this. Next. Okay, installation. Let's go home. రెండు మూడు సార్లు విన్నా కదా ఆన్సర్ చెప్పు ఎలా అయితే ఎలా నువ్వు 1000 సార్లు క్లాస్లో కూర్చుంటే చెప్పు అయితే old guys should answer, right? So prior to 10G, okay, now we have shared pool, right? In the SDA shared pool, buffer cache, block buffer, Java pool, 6 components are there. So before 10G, each component have its own specific value. Understood? There is no SG underscore target or SG underscore max size. Each component shared underscore pool size 1 GB, buffer underscore cache 2 GB. Like that, each component managed individually. So during that time, database performance training is quite critical. Okay, everything you have to check and every little bit aspect you need to understand. As soon as 10G comes, what is that? They have introduced automatic shared memory management. What is that? Now what they have decided, okay, we do one thing. These are all logical components of SGA. We allocate certain space to SGA, then these components will shuffle internally. Like if I have 4 GB of SGA, now my shared pool requires 2 GB. So if the SGA is free, then it can utilize 2 GB within that SGA. Okay? If my buffer cache is required 3 GB and nobody is using, then buffer cache will get 3 GB within that shared pool. Understood or not? But you should have those values. Shared underscore pool underscore size, buffer cache underscore size. Now those values became the minimum amount. Understood? So earlier in 9i or 8i, those were the fixed values, and now that is the value it is going to use. Now in the automatic shared memory management, the whatever value you have shared put, that is the minimum value, means below that it cannot go. So if I have 5 GB of SGA, out of that shared pool is 1 GB. Okay? So shared pool can never be go down below 1 GB. Okay, if I am not using shared pool 2 GB, then it can use up to 1 GB. So whatever remaining 4 GB can be allocated to some other pool, but it will not come down. So that is the minimum value now it became. Understood? Now, and PG also defined separately. Okay, from 11G onwards we have automatic memory management. What is that? Now what Oracle advanced thought? I have PGA, I have SGA. Sometimes now I could see PGA is required more and SGA is required less. So as I have defined different pools for that, now we have 2.5 GB SGA and 800 MB PGA, right? So at this point of time, my SGA is only getting used 1500 MB. So 1 GB is free over there, but my PGA is required more space, right? So in that case, what happens? That SGA will be whatever free space is there in SGA that will be used for PGA. Right? Here it is not happening. Even if 1 GB SGA is free, PGA cannot use it because that is a different pool. So to reduce this mitigation, now they come up with automatic memory management. What are the parameters now they have introduced with this? Huh? What are the parameters? Now we have memory target, memory max size. Like we have in the automatic shared memory management, PGA target, PGA aggregate limit, SGA target, SGA max size. Similarly, those SGA, PGA will not be there, only memory target, memory max size. So now I have enabled 3.5 GB to memory, whether it is SGA, whether it is PGA. Okay? So if SGA is not using, PGA can take. But we have some disadvantages here. So that's why people again move back to this automatic shared memory management. If this is advanced, then Oracle should have defaulted this one, right? So in the installer, whatever your default is, that is the best one. If you have different options, you want specific things, then you can change the options, right? So default is this one. That means this has some disadvantages. They have thought in some different way, but it has kicked back in some wrong way. How? Where PGA is being used? Tell me why PGA is being used. See now, if you don't understand logic, you cannot answer. PGA is being used for user private area, right? Whenever a user session creates, you should have some memory to work. Like if you come into class, you have one seat for you to sit. Where this seat came from? From this classroom. So this is what? PGA. So whatever user is running, those codes will be residing here. That is also called user private SQL area. Along that, it will also use it for sorting operations. Like you are searching something, you gave select star from this EMP where user EMP ID equal to 10. So in that table, you say you have 10,000 records. Out of that, you have 2 employees with that user ID. So it will do the sorting, searching it will do. So that data will also reside in PGA. So if I write a wrong query, then there is a chances of my PGA being getting used a lot, right? It might require more space. So at that point of time, say your SGA is not being used, then all the memory allocated to PGA. Now SGA is required, PGA is not releasing because that user session is still running. Then you have problem. So that's the reason again Oracle came back to recommend automatic shared memory management. Okay. So if my PGA is limited, the user cannot access that PGA. So if he requires more space, then his query will fail. So that will not hamper entire database, only its query will fail. Now you need to tune that query so that it can use within the limit, or you can increase PGA. If the query is really required more space, you cannot tune that query, then only option is increasing the PGA, but your database will not crash. Understood the logic? So we will go with this one, and then there is one sizing. So what is this process? Hmm? Now you are reading. Okay, good. You have improved something. Tell me what is this process? Huh? And only background process. So when we start the database, there are some background process will be created. They will be created with Oracle user only. When we create any session or user logins, for them also one server process will be created. So the number of process whatever we have here, it should not exceed for that database. So say by default background process is 100, then 200 user sessions only you can create. If somebody comes 201, he will get error. Max process limit exceed. Means it cannot allocate anything more than 300. Okay? So you need to tune this parameter. So if we are working for production database, you assume like maybe there are 200, 2000, 3000 connections. So you need to change this parameter. So generally we use 2000 or 3000 based on the user base, concurrent user base, not user base. One is user, one is concurrent user. Understood? What is the difference between user and concurrent user? Concurrent user means constant. See, in this institute, how many members we have? Maybe we have 200 or 300. But at one point of time, max how many users you can see? 10, 15. So that is concurrent user. You might be here, next time you might be not here, other might be here. Right? The number, whatever number, the max number at any point of time. That is what called concurrency. And total is number of users. So say if I have 500 users or 5000 users in say Netflix or whatever, okay. So there may be say 2000 subscriptions are there in Netflix. Do you see all the 2000 users watching the movie at one time? So there may be 500 or 1000 users. That means 1000 is active user, 1000 is concurrent user, total is all, that is number of users. So this process you need to make sure on the number of concurrent connections you are going to create. There might be 10,000 of users are there. So you does not require to create 10,000 processes. Yes, there is obvious chance 10,000 users can come one point of time. But that should not happen regularly, right? So there are some rules will be there. That's how you define. Okay. So you never touch this, right? So far. Now characteristic set. What is this? So every database works on a character set. Okay. That is what we call NLS, National Language Character. So if you can see national character set, you can have. If I change this, United States, so American. In American, what are the characteristic sets? Okay, it does not change, right? What was we are having? United. Hmm? Canada. Okay. So you can choose different character set. Here it is UTF-8. Here you can see WF-125. These are the different character sets. In India, we have default one, but if you go to France or Japan, they have their own character set. That means how we displace the characters. You can see databases where you cannot read what is system. If you can type system, it will come in Japanese language. Okay. Mostly Japan does not want English to display. If you work in Japan database, you will be shocked. Everything system prompt also comes in Japanese language. That is how, because of these character sets. Okay. Because when the America put the bomb, right? Since then they don't want to use any American products. Even you can't see Apple phones in Japan. I never went there, but somebody who went there, they told me. Even in the display boards also you can see Japan language. Huh? Okay. And then this is connection mode. Now this is dedicated mode and shared mode. You know that about this? This is also not known, right? So in earlier versions like 8i, 9i, then these servers are not that much powerful. If you see the old laptops of 1 GB RAM, 2 GB RAM, when I start my career, I used to see 256 MB of RAM. I used to work on Windows 98, not XP. Okay, Windows 98, those floppy disks. That means during those times, the hardware architecture was not so powerful. If now I have given 2000 users, right? That server hardly handles 200, 300 process for entire system, not only for database. In that case, how they can use? Then they have this shared server model. That means one user session created, one process created. Second user server created, the same process can be used. One process used to cater for two or more sessions on the shared server mode. Now we have dedicated server mode. For each session, one server process will be created. All are different. Okay. So during that time, lags will be there. So if I am using one process and you are also using one process, if you want something until unless I release, you need to wait. So the performance was not up to mark. Now with the improving the hardware, they have changed the model also. They might ask what is the dedicated server mode or what is the shared socket. They can also ask dedicated socket or shared socket. So you need to make them understand like this. Okay. So we have covered all the tabs. Now next. So we have done multiple times. Still I am spending 1 hour or more than that to install only database. Now I don't want to configure enterprise. There is one tool you can see, run cluster verification utility CVU checks periodically. What it will do, this is the cluster verification utility which will check the cluster integrity. Okay, periodically it will check, it will take some time. So generally we don't use it. If you want, you can use this also. This is called cluster verification tool. We will run this when we check the OCR and loading files in tandem. Okay. Next. Now when we have normal database, we have two users, sys and system. Now you can see PDB admin also, right? Which will administrator the PDB databases. Okay. For all, as usual, we use one single password. In the real time, you should keep different password for everything. Okay. And that password should not be like Oracle or Oracle at the rate 123. Okay. Now it is barking, right? You have given small password. I said I know everything. Keep quiet and proceed further. Now create database. So there are two things are there. This is also important point. Initialization parameters. You can see what are the parameters it took. If you don't want any parameter to set, you can uncheck it. Okay. You never seen this also. See, if you do installation like this, right, there will be no problem. You can understand, you can answer everything. So now there are two things, see, log archive dest1, log archive dest2, right? This is not highlighted. Why? What does this parameter means, you know? Huh? Tell me. డిఆర్ ఒకటి ఇస్తానులే, బయటికి వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. డిఆర్ చేస్తాం ఇప్పుడు, ఎందుకు ఉంటుంది? ఇప్పుడు నేను నార్మల్ డేటాబేస్ చేస్తున్నాను కదా, ఇంట్లో కూడా ఉండాలి కదా. ఆర్కైవ్ ఆఫ్ డెస్టినేషన్ 1. ఓకే, దిస్ ఇస్ ఆర్కైవ్ ఆఫ్ డెస్టినేషన్ 2. So that means I did not enable archive log, so that's why I did not set it. Log archive dest state to enable. Then flash recovery area, db file dest, db file dest size. These parameters are there. If you want, you can enable, or these parameters you can enable later also. Okay, see, db create file dest, where the files will be created, that will be created in plus data and then cdb name, right? And where is your db create online log, online log? There are two locations. Why? We have multiplex, right? Now if we can see control file, where is control file? This is default, that's why you cannot change or modify. You can also see control files at plus data as well as plus reco. Now you have checked, if you want anything you can change it. Now there is one more important point, customize storage locations. Okay, so now it is showing you control files. So maximum data files, how many control files you can use? 100. So now you got the clear point. If somebody asks how many control files you can create in your Oracle database, you can say 100. Okay. Number of instances, how many instances you can have? 8 control file instances and 100 files. Maximum log history, these are not required. Okay. Now coming to data files, what are the data files it is going to create? These many data files. See, if you can say sysop system undo and users undo tbs2. Again you are seeing why there are two undo tbs1 and undo tbs2. Why? Generally one undo table space is enough, right? Why it is creating two here? Huh? ఒకటి చెప్పండి ఎందుకు? multiple instances, you cannot say multiple nodes. So each instance has its own undo, right? Then again you can see system sysocs undo, again you can see system sysocs undo. That means we have pdbs, we have cdbs. For cdb and pdb, system sysocs table space will be there, but user will be maintained from the cdb only. Understood or not? Table space will be created for pdb also, cdb also, because there is some admin views are there in the pdb as well as in cdb, but schema will be maintained in cdb only. Okay, so these are the data files, temp data file, temp1, temp2, temp3, temp4. These are 4 database created. You can also manage local temp mount data files, temp table space. Now the most important thing is redo log file. Okay, what is that? So you can see one, what is that? It is saying redo log group 1. Okay, in the group 1 you can see this is the size in kb, so that means it is somewhere around 200 MB. So in production database 200 MB redo log is very less. Okay, so if the transactions are high, you can have high redo log size. Then what happens if I have low redo log size? Tell me. It is much like you want to say you have a container, jar, you have water there, or you need to put water, or you need to delete water. Water you can say you need to transfer water from one container to another container. You cannot pour the container. You will take help of some mug or glass. Now see. Now what happens in the database? Transactions are happening. they will be written into online Redulog buffer. From there they come to Redulog files, right? If I have small Redulog file, then that will be filled quickly. Then what happens? If that Redulog is filled up quickly, then it need to switch the log file to write more data. When it switches the log file, if I have enabled archiving, then archival has to be done into the CPU or data files, physical hard disk. Who will write that? CPU will write that. Right? CPU will prompt only, right, to write the data into archive logs. So if I have less in size Redulog files and I have used transaction to 4, right? Then what happens? Lot of Redulogs will be generated. So CPU will be busy in writing Redulogs. Like I have given 10 liters of water to transfer and I have given 1 spoon. Then what happens? If I have given you 1 liter bucket, so you get the time, right? So that is what, depending on the number of transactions, we need to resize our Redulog. If your Redulog is not enoughly adequate size, then what you will see, there is a wait event that is called log sync wait event. That means your CPU is always busy in syncing the logs. Then where it will do the other work. That means your database is not performing well. When you see wait event, log sync wait event, that means your Redulogs are not properly sized. So you need to increase the size. Okay. So how we can increase Redulog file size? You know, we cannot resize the Redulogs. We always need to create new size Redulogs, drop the old one. Okay. So rather than that, you can do this task after also, but now I will do now only. So I am giving like, so this database is very small size, so I can give 500 MB. 500 here I am doing MB. Now you can see one something called thread. So there you can see number 1 and number 2. This you won't see in the normal single instance. So what is now thread? Huh? Right? You have done what I can say, standby. You have seen the managed underscore standby view to see the MRP process status. So there you have checked the sequence and thread has, right? Thread means you have 2 instances as of now. So users will log on to instance 1 as well as instance 2. So they will do transactions on instance 1, instance 2. Now Redulogs will generate on instance 1, instance 2. Then archive logs will generate on instance 1, instance 2. This is what called thread. Okay. So the logs which are generating, they will on instance 1 will be treated as thread 1, and logs which is generating on instance 2 treated as thread 2. If we have node 3, thread 4. Okay? In the single instance, only one instance, one thread. But in the multiple instances, you should have multiple threads. So you should have archive logs, you should have log files, redo logs for thread 1 as well as thread 2. Means instance 1 should have some redo log groups, instance 2 also should have some redo log groups. Right? Now clear? So this one is for redo log 1, instance 1. Now I have changed these things, apply. Okay? Now go to second redo log group. This is log group and this is also for thread 1. Okay? So what I have used 500 MB, right? So this is also for thread 1, apply. Now when I am going to third group, I can see this is thread 2. This log group will work for instance 2. 500 MB, apply. Similarly 500 MB, and this will also work for thread 2. I could see these are not enough. I want more Redulo groups, so I can add always. Right click. If you can see add, this is Redulo group number 5. Now 500 MB. One I will add for thread 1, another I will add for thread 2. Okay. Now select add Redulo size 6, 500 MB for thread 2. Now they are evenly poised. Understood? Okay. All things covered. Simply next. See how many things are there in one single installation. So you can expect how many questions can come from the installation itself. Right? How long this class went? 1 hour 30 minutes. Only for Oracle database installation. Even after you have 100 times of installation experience. So next time if somebody asks you, you can answer these things, right? So you need to be more curious why this is not being done. You need to ask questions in the class. If I am skipping something, you could see something. What is that? That interest you need to develop. It is not always I should explain. Something is in front of your eyes, you should concentrate on it. Not in class, anywhere also. In your real life also, if you see something and that's where you are working on, then you should understand the entire knowledge, right? Then only you can be a good task completer for that sake. So now it has given everything. So in the real time, when you do production installation or whatever, you need to capture all these screens, and even you can save the response file. Somebody say you have installed wrongly, then you have the proof. See, this is what I have done, this is what you have given. Okay. So if I want to save response file, where I want to save, uh, say in the home only, it is DBCA response. Simply. So in the home I have created one. So once the installation is done, you can see. Now it will take a lot of time because we are installing CDB, we are creating two PDBs. Okay, this will take half an hour or so, maybe more than that. Okay, which mount point? We are not using any mount point here. Ah, ah. అర్థమైందా స్పేస్ ఉన్నదా మరి అక్కడికి ఎలా అనిపించారు ఫ్రీ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేసేటప్పుడు ఎల్బిఎం అనే ఆప్షన్ ఉన్నది గుర్తుందా మీరు స్టాండర్డ్ చేసుంటారు బట్ స్టిల్ యూ హ్యావ్ ది ఆప్షన్ దానికోసం కొద్దిగా క్రిటికల్ చేయాలి చేయొచ్చు ఎల్బిఎం పెట్టుకుంటే కళ్ళు మూసుకొని ఇంక్రీజ్ చేయొచ్చు దానికి కమాండ్స్ ఉంటాయి మీరు తప్పు కమాండ్ కొట్టుకుంటారు వెరీ సింపుల్ సరే తీసుకున్న తర్వాత చూద్దాం పెంచొచ్చులే నేను ఒకసారి రూట్ డ్రైవ్లో కూడా పెంచా బట్ అది చాలా రిస్కీ అనమాట బట్ ఐ డోంట్ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ ఆప్షన్ ఇఫ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఒరాకిల్ దెన్ ఇట్ విల్ బి మచ్ ఈజియర్ దెన్ దట్ రెస్పాన్స్ ఫైల్ ఒరాకిల్లో పెట్టాం కదా ర్యాక్ నోడ్ 1 su minus oracle ls minus lrt without dbca dot response ఇప్పుడు if you want ఇప్పుడు ఎంత డేటు ఓకే ఇందులో అన్నీ ఉంటాయి చూడు. వాట్ ఈస్ డిబి నేమ్, గ్లోబల్ నేమ్ ఏమి ఇచ్చావు, prod డాట్ లోకల్ డాట్ కామ్, ఎస్ఐడి ఏమి ఇచ్చావు, కాన్ఫిగరేషన్ టైప్ ఎలాంటిది, ర్యాక్. ఓకేనా. ర్యాక్ నోట్ సర్వీసెస్ ఏమైనా పెట్టావా, పెట్టలేదు, పాలసీ మేనేజ్మెంట్ పాల్స్. ఓకేనా. క్రియేట్ సర్వర్ పూల్ పాల్స్, పూల్ నేమ్ ఒక పూల్ నేమ్ ఏంటి, కార్డినాలిటీ ఏంటి, సో ఆల్ ది డీటెయిల్స్ విల్ బి దేర్ హియర్. ఓకే. పీడిబి ఏంటి, దాని తర్వాత నీకేంటి జనరల్ పర్పస్ డేటాబేసు. అని అంటలేదు నువ్వు డేటా వేర్ హౌస్ సెలెక్ట్ చేసావు, పనిచేయడం లేదని చూపిందా, ఇదో రెస్పాన్సిబుల్ ఉన్నది జనరల్ పర్పస్. సో ఎవ్రీథింగ్ ఇట్ విల్ హ్యావ్, ఆల్మోస్ట్ ఆల్ ద థింగ్స్. ఓకే. స్టోరేజ్ టైప్ ఏఎస్ఎం, డిబి యూనిక్, డిస్ గ్రూప్ అని అంటున్నాడు, లేదు నువ్వు ఈ డిస్ గ్రూప్ సెలెక్ట్ చేయలేదు, దానికి కూడా మన దగ్గర ఆన్సర్ ఉంది. ఓకేనా. ఇన్నిట్ పారామీటర్స్ ఏంటి, మొత్తం ఇందులో ఉన్నాయన్నమాట పారామీటర్స్. దీన్ని నువ్వు కాపీ పేస్ట్ చేసుకుంటే నీకు దొరుకుతుంది. ఓకేనా. అండు టేబుల్ ఇస్పెట్ ఏంటి, ఎస్జిఏ టార్గెట్ సైజ్ ఎంత. ఓకే. వాట్ ఎవర్ పారామీటర్స్ వీ హ్యావ్ సీన్ దేర్, దోస్ విల్ బి రెప్లికేటెడ్ హియర్. ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్గా ఉన్నదా, ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్గా ఉంటుంది, ఆన్సర్ చెప్పండి. మండే మాత్రం క్లాస్ ఉంటుంది మీకు. ఓకేనా. కన్ఫామ్గా అప్పుడు నేను ఆ సర్వర్ రిలీజ్ చేయాలి. మండే క్లాసు, మండే క్లాస్ అంటే టెస్ట్ అవుతుంది ఇంకేంటి. సో దీనిలో మరి కొత్తగా ఏమీ లేదు కదా, దిస్ ఇస్ యాజ్ ఈజ్ నార్మల్ ఇన్స్టెన్స్. సో వాట్ ఎవర్ థింగ్స్ వీ నీడ్ టు డూ వీ హ్యావ్ ఆల్రెడీ డన్. So you can stop this unnecessarily, it will go.